So one thing I want to go over today is the idea of compounds and mixtures and the differences and similarities between them. A lot of times it's easy to see the differences between elements, compounds, or elements and mixtures, but to know the difference between compounds and mixtures is something that 8th graders, just a couple of them have trouble with it. So I want to go over that today so that there's no confusion. So over here, obviously, we have all the compounds and all their things that are different from mixtures. One thing that I really want to reiterate is how they are formed. So at the top one there, compounds are chemically combined. Chemically combined compounds. The C's in there should give you a hint that compounds are chemically combined. Always chemically combined, and they are always chemically separated. So those are two ideas to really keep in mind as we go through this, because that's the major dividing difference between compounds and mixtures. If I ever said on a test or quiz, or if I ever asked you in class, what is chemically combined? Compounds. Moving on to our next idea, so mixtures are physically combined. So a mixture, some examples would be like cereal. You throw a bunch of Cheerios or whatever in your milk. That's a physical combination, so I can separate them physically. So separation methods are always physically separated. So mixtures are physically combined, are not chemically. So they're physically combined and they are physically separated. Another idea is that mixtures keep their characteristics. So whatever, if I have Cheerios, those characteristics, those properties do not change. The milk, the water, whatever, those do not change. In a compound, all their characteristics change. So if I had oxygen and if I had hydrogen, I have two gases. One is very reactive, one is very explosive, but when I combine them, they have completely new properties. Now it's a clear liquid that is not very reactive. So just depending on what you have, compounds or mixtures, those really change the properties whether you have a compound or mixture. The compound, the ratio is set. So H2O, there is always going to be two hydrogens to one oxygen. That ratio does not change. Whereas the mixtures, I can have a little bit of Cheerios or I can have a lot, but it's still the same mixture. So the ratio might depend. Boiling points and melting points, those don't change. That goes with our properties idea. If I have water and sand, sand is going to boil at one temperature, water is going to boil at a different temperature, and those do not change. Whereas a compound, whatever compound I have, all of it together boils at the same temperature because it has the same properties. So there's a couple things. The biggest ones that I really want to highlight, so if I can figure out how to do that here, mixtures are physical, physically combined, and they are physically separated. Those two things are with mixtures. Chemically combined compounds. Chemically combined compounds. C, C, and C. So compounds are chemically combined and they are chemically separated. So I'll put the word chemically here. I like that better. So they are chemically separated. So those are the two biggest things, and then the ones right here. So the properties in a compound change once they're combined. So we talked about oxygen and hydrogen forming water. And then in a mixture, the properties never ever change of the substances. So sand, salt, if I put those two together, their properties are going to be the same. Boiling point, melting point are going to be the same, never ever changing. So I hope this was helpful to kind of understand the differences between compounds and mixtures. Your keyword for tonight is Gonzaga.